You're back again with Joshua.
And Josh.
And this is
The Uncut Truth.
Thanks for checking out another one of our videos. If this happens to be your first video, go check out our other ones, see what's going on. You can find out what other sports we've been talking about.
Everything's in a playlist. If you want just college, that's in a playlist. If you want NFL, that's in a playlist. If you just want our picks, that's in a playlist.
Bam.
That just happened.
We're going to go ahead and jump right on into some college football here, right?
College football. We're going to recap the games from last week.
Let's start off with, let's look at the USC wins big.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Stanford put a whooping to Rice. In the previous weeks, but USC looked like they were on a whole nother level in that game.
Yeah, they did. They look like two different teams. One team definitely trending upwards and looking like a playoff team in USC and Stanford. Definitely showing that they have some improvement to make. Yeah,
without their playmaker at running back, McCaffrey, running back, returner, whatever, all around everything. They're missing some players. They're missing some key players, man. For sure. Yeah, I definitely, without a doubt. We'll talk a little bit more about them in a little bit, but definitely impressed with USC. Something else, Mayfield, man, Baker Mayfield, that surprised me. The OU Ohio State game. I did not expect him to freaking destroy the Ohio State defense.
Because we both picked Ohio.
Yeah, I was like, no, I think the Ohio State defense is going to be too much. Mayfield said no. I'm gonna put an exclamation point by planting the flag at midfield. Yeah, he did. OU did look rather impressive. I would say I was surprised with OU. Definitely surprised with that. There's been a lot of good out-of-conference games so far in the season. Yeah, especially early on where you think you know, but you don't have any idea. You know what I mean? Like, based off of last season to this season, you can't judge based off last year. Nope. It has not worked so far yet. You said you were surprised with Auburn? Yeah, I expected them to get their butts kicked, hands down. I expected it to be a close game at all. Auburn, to me, is super overrated. They surprised me. That was a pleasant surprise. I thought they were just high up on them from last year. I don't know why. Like, maybe just got a lot of returners, but they held Clemson pretty good. Yeah, Clemson's offense was definitely held in check in this game. I think they only scored 14 points. Is that right? Yeah, it was like 6 to 14. It was a low score. It was like a baseball game, man. Yeah, like the Rangers. Yeah. And then something else, man. For some reason, FCS teams are being way underestimated this year. I know I'm always on them. I'm like, hey, don't schedule FCS teams. Schedule the group of 5 teams for those. But FCS is like, yo, we're coming. We're not holding back. We're going to prove a point. Regardless of what team it is. It could be Power 5, could be a group of 5. It doesn't matter. They've surprised a lot of teams this year. Right. They did. They definitely kept the games closer than they should have been. And I would say one last note I had here is Jackson from Louisville. Oh, yeah, Lamar Jackson. He's definitely looking like he's ready to return to Heisman form. Yeah, I saw a couple of highlights, and they're like, he's like a man amongst boys. The ability he's shown to grow from last season to this season. Because, like, this week, I'm anxious to see how he plays. Because once he got to ACC play last year, fell off the planet to me. Right. Like, he was not the playmaker he was. So I'm anxious to see how he does against Clemson this week. But he's shown growth so far this season from last year. And we'll be picking that game, but not quite yet. We'll get to that later. Another little topic I'd like to discuss, and I'm not a big SEC guy. Correct. That's very true. I feel like they get the benefit of the doubt all the time. And the SEC struggled again this week. You had Auburn losing out of conference, and you had it's just Texas A&M. Like, it took to the fourth quarter for them to beat an FCS team. Like, after the horrible comeback loss last week, and then they struggled against the UCLA team. That's okay, but they struggled horribly this past week. I think it was like Norman or something like that. It was a surprise. We're from Texas, so people on Facebook that are A&M fans were like, he's out. Someone needs to be gone like last week. Right. Because it's just ridiculous. Georgia, though, they got the W against Notre Dame. They actually looked pretty good. They ran the ball well and controlled the clock, and they were able to run it down the stretch a little bit, too, to close out that game. Neither one of their guys reached the 100-yard mark, but they were able to close out the game. Yeah, something about that one, they said Sonny Michel went down a little bit in the fourth quarter, but they said that's the benefit of having the 2-back set. Is Chubb came in, and he's not tired at all. Right. He can carry the rest of the game, no problem.
Yeah, Arkansas lost to TCU last week, which you picked Arkansas.
I did.
And they got beat 28-7, which is kind of the same thing that I've said, is that the SEC gets out of the conference and they get to play these teams that have no defense and this high-powered offense, and you can't stay up with the offense. So.
Yeah, and I watched a little bit of that game too, and it was TCU running the ball over Arkansas. And even the announcers were like, a Big 12 team is running over Arkansas? Are you serious right now? It was a surprise to even them that it was happening. But
right,
once again, out of conference, out of mind, man, they're just not good.
Auburn, same way. They 14-6 was the final, and just not looking good. Now Alabama is the exception to the rule. They seem to have been good for several years now, but just because Alabama gets beat in conference doesn't mean that the SEC is so dominant. It just means that Alabama loses in conference. Every team loses in conference because you play each other so regular. And you have those big home games, and the fans definitely affect those games. Couple more things. Back to the USC now. We'll talk about it a little bit more. The way they finished that game was very impressive for USC. They were running the ball down the stretch, picking up first downs, controlling the clock. I think they had a 6-minute drive, 16 plays, I think, if I remember right from watching the game, in the fourth quarter to kind of close it out and keep Stanford's defense on the field and really put an exclamation point on that game.
Yeah, and Darnold definitely tore it up, man. 5 incomplete passes, 21 for 26, 316, and 4 touchdowns. He looked like the Darnold from last year.
I think he only had 3 incomplete passes. I think the defense caught 2 of those.
But it's like one of those. He's also making a name for himself up there with Jackson for Heisman, Brian. I mean, he started making a name for himself last year when they finally put him in. And then this year, he's starting off great. Yeah. He's looking like that number 1, number 2 quarterback pick that Todd McShay's been saying all offseason.
And then one other thing that you wanted to discuss was the Baylor Bears.
Yeah, Baylor, wow, dude. I know they got a new head coach. I understand that. I think it was from Temple. I think he came over. Rule, pretty sure that's what his name is. They've had an underwhelming season so far, man. They lost to an FCS team, Liberty, and to UTSA. Yep. That's bad. That's bad. That's like unacceptable. If you were to look at any other Big 12 team minus Kansas, like gone. Like, no sir. That's 2 games you lost to those 2 teams. That's unacceptable.
But I think Baylor's going back to where they were 10 years ago, or I guess a little bit longer than that. More like 15 years ago when they were a 2-win team every year, and if you got beat by Baylor, it was like getting beat by Kansas State. It just was not good to lose that game. And I'm not surprised since Art Briles is gone. That offense he put in there, him and those boys there ran it to perfection, and it's just not the same when he's not there.
Right. Yeah, definitely a surprise to me, because I know a lot of my friends also on Facebook. I mean, we're in Texas, so nobody is one team. I got Tech fans, I got Oklahoma fans, like I got Baylor fans, TCU fans. The Baylor fans have been quiet, like nothing at all. Like they were like so cheery, so pumped. Now, to me, this year, if Baylor beats one of the up teams, like if Baylor beats Texas, that's a big win for Baylor.
Yeah,
as sad as that sounds, that's a big win for Baylor so far this year.
Which they might get a little bit better. Give that coach time to get his offense installed, because it's definitely not going to be the same as the Art Briles offense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were snapping the ball every 8 seconds and running tons of plays, and they don't have the caliber players that they had back then either. Last thing we'll talk about is the Texas game, and
yeah, they finally showed up. Man, it's only the second game of the season, but they put up points, and they allowed no points.
Yeah.
They finally
First time they've shut someone out since 2014 against Kansas.
Dang.
A long time.
Yeah. But I think it's a good momentum for him, at least going to the USC game. And I did see some interesting things about that. They said USC doesn't count, or that whole season, that season's been vacated in the record books for them.
Right.
So they're 4-0 against Texas in their record books. But Texas still has a Rose Bowl win according to their record books. It's kind of like a weird situation. So USC's coming in with the mindset, we're undefeated. We've never lost to Texas. We're going to continue that right now.
that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
First of all, Texas is not this good. If they were this good, they would have won last week, and they wouldn't have given up 50-something points last week, or 49, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's San Jose State. I mean, what do you expect? That's a group of 5 team in one of the weaker conferences anyways. But, yeah, what do you expect?
I would expect them to have done that to Maryland. Maybe not 56-0. I would have expected them to win, though.
Yeah.
Win handily. A couple of notes I had is their defense is not as good as they played this week. They only gave up 171 yards. That probably will not happen again this year. They ran for 406 again. That's not going to happen again this year. But they ran it, I want to say, 59 times in this game, right? 59 runs. They need to keep the running game going. Keep running the ball and throwing those short, accurate passes. And I think this was Hurd, his first start.
Yeah, Bouchel didn't play this game. Like he didn't have any stats.
He got hurt last week.
Yeah, I knew he had, but I didn't figure he's going to be out there. I guess rest him for the big game this upcoming week.
I think Hurd's the starter going forward. If I heard right, yeah.
Banging.
So a couple other notes I had here is that under Charlie Strong, they only scored 50 points 3 times. And when it was an overtime game, just a little note here. And but I do think that points scored, I think they could score in the 40s every week with Herman there. But the defense is not going to hold teams to 0.
Right. I mean, they have one bright spot on defense. That's Hill. They had his second pick 6 in as many weeks. And they went from no defensive touchdowns under Charlie Strong at all to 2 in 2 games by the same guy. Like, that's good.
Yep,
I'm excited for him. Like that to me, he's going to be a force that the teams are going to start focusing around and playing and building their offense to not go towards him. If he's going to keep doing this week in and week out, that's a good sign.
So you're more excited for Texas now with the new coach?
I've been excited all year or all off season. Ever since Charlie Strong got there, I've been excited. Now, new coach, I'm still up in the air. I still think they'll finish pretty high up in conference. I still think so, even so. But new coach looking pretty good. He fixed his defense in 1 week. Granted, not the same caliber players, but I mean, obviously 0 points is a lot better than 50 points.
Right. That's going to wrap up another episode of
The Uncut Truth.
Make sure you leave comments below and let us know what you think about everything we've talked about today. Whether you agree with us or disagree with us, we're open to either way. We'd like to hear your opinion on things. Leave us a comment and we'll mention you next week on the show.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do a subscriber shout out, comment shout out. We'll feature you in the video, guaranteed. If you like the video, be sure to leave a like. If you're new, subscribe.
Yep, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook. And thanks again for watching. This is
The Uncut Truth.